where would you suggest that people start? Because if you're the average podcast listener to this show and we're talking about investors, they don't know. They don't know, like, well, where would I go to find out, who started GNC supplements? Again, terrible example. We should, but like
we'll go with it. We'll go with it.
Okay.
Just an example. We're not saying it's a good idea or not. That's not the
Right.
point. But I think in all cases, I would do two things. One is I would say, what is the company that's kind of like my company that's already quote unquote been successful? And you could define success in a lot of ways. If in a venture sort of way, we would look at a company that's already exited, which means it's been acquired or gone public for probably north of $100 million and preferably more, right? A 300 million, a 500 million, or a gone public kind of company. What company is kind of like mine that is in that? And it doesn't have to be the same thing. So let's say you're doing a hospitality company and you're like, well, I don't know, there's Airbnb. That's kind of like my company, right? And there may be many more like that. So, okay, reverse engineer from that and find out what is similar to me and what might be different about what I'm doing. The second is go after the founders. So usually this, what company is kind of like mine and has already been successful, it's usually not just one. There may be two or three or four from slightly different perspectives, right? Is Airbnb the only hospitality company? Is it even a hospitality? Oh, it's a travel company and a hospitality company. Oh, it's a hotel company and a travel company. So you could find different examples of companies that are similar to you, but have already been successful. And then also you could do very well by finding the founders of those companies who by their very nature are now much wealthier than they were when they started. And you could imagine that those people might like to be angel investors too. Oftentimes, once founders have been successful, and by the nature of what we just talked about, they are now successful, they oftentimes start writing those $25,000 checks. And if you were doing another company that was in the hospitality space, the travel space, and you got Brian Chesky to invest in it, and you had Brian Chesky, you could send him an email and ask him questions about it, you're already a better company. Mm-hmm. You're already smarter. And why wouldn't you want Brian Chesky to invest in that company? And I could make the list. You could do the same thing for any particular category of the thing you are, who is the already successful founder or founders, meaning might be senior people at those companies too, who oftentimes are angel investors, and or the investors who were in those companies previously. So who were the people who invested in Airbnb when it was just a baby, just getting going, because those people made a lot of money too. And they've now started to develop pattern recognition, understanding of the market, and presumably can be really helpful to you in addition to the money. And the money is just sort of like generally most entrepreneurs, the first timers, they're thinking that the money is the most important thing. It's not. What's important is the access to knowledge. And the person who's already tried 40 different things to make the restaurant successful or the other things successful. So access to knowledge, and imagine that you could put all those names on your list, your cap table, your set of investors, and presumably get knowledge from them in addition to capital.